Good evening. If y'all would raise your hands, if any of y'all have been nervous on a first date. Don't you be lying. Raise his hands. I got back in the back texting. I see you. Black? Yeah, you. Nervous on the first date?
No, I'm here just for you.
Well, keep those hands raised high. All of you have been nervous on the first date, right? Right? Did any of you show up in your underwear? Raise your hands. No?
I had a dream
No?
like that.
I'm glad that none of y'all done that. We wouldn't have to talk in class. Same goes for a presentation. You want to dress nice and look appealing, have good visuals. Just like in a presentation or going on a date, presenting your best self goes hand in hand when you give a presentation. So today we're going to be going over how to geek out your visuals in a presentation, and a little bit on how Stranger Things can give us clues on how to do that. So I'm Aubrey Williams.
I'm Laura Sacristan. I'm Stephanie Smith.
I'm Neil Kapadia.
I'm Ron Nixon.
And we're your geek guides for today. So today's agenda, first we're going to be summarizing Stranger Things, followed by our 5 recommendations. These will include choose the right costume, integrate chill colors, select neat typography, pick rad effects, use cool graphics, and then finally we're going to be recapping our recommendations, and then any questions or stuff that y'all might want to critique us on, so go easy. Now next up, we're going to have a short video. It's going to be about 2 minutes. It's going to be really fast paced, so you're going to have to pay close attention. She goes really quick.
Stranger Things takes place in the 1980s in fictional Hawkins, Indiana. Right on the outskirts of town is the Hawkins National Laboratory. Nothing freaky goes on there and everything is cool. Just kidding, it's a hot paranormal mess, but we'll get to specifics later. The series opens on 4 young BFFs, Mike, Dustin, Lucas, and Will, playing D&D. After the game, Will is biking home and mysteriously disappears. The next day, a young girl with a shaved head pops in a local diner. A lady pretending to be a social worker kills the kindly diner owner and tries to snatch the girl. Yeah, this isn't just any missing kid. Duh, she's not a social worker. Hello. Will's mom, played by Winona Ryder, gets a phone call, thinks she hears Will's distorted voice, but then the phone short circuits. Anyway, she's convinced he's alive, and along with Will's buddies, Will's older brother Jonathan, cool-ass Detective Hopper, she's gonna find her boy. Mike, Lucas, and Dustin come across the mysterious girl and take her to Mike's. She starts living in his basement unbeknownst to his parents, who I guess never go downstairs. The boys call her 11, or L for short, because she has a weird tat of the number 11 on her arm. Elle doesn't talk much, but makes it clear to the boys that bad people want to find her, so the boys promise to keep her a secret after she shows them she's got telekinetic powers. Hi, little Carrie. Meanwhile, Mike's brainy older sister Nancy is dating this guy Steve, who kind of sucks. Nancy drags her best friend Barb, we love Barb, to a cool kids party at Steve's, where Barb disappears just like Will, except no one seems to care as much, but we care, Barb, justice for Barb. We find out that the lab on the edge of town has ripped open a hole to another dimension called the Upside Down. It looks like a weird photo negative of our world. That's where Will and Barb are trapped. We also learn that when she was pregnant with Elle's mom's part of something called Project MKUltra, a real CIA program that involved mind control and LSD and hypnosis. As a result, Elle has telekinetic powers and can access the Upside Down. She's been held hostage at the lab, studied and tortured by terrible, shadowy government officials like Matthew Modine in order to explore this dimension. Anyway, the whole gang figures out that Will and Barb are stuck in the Upside Down, except Barb has already been eaten by the Demogorgon, the apex predator of its dimension. Nancy, Mike's sister, and Jonathan, Will's brother, decide to kill the Demogorgon while Will's mom and Hopper head to the Upside Down to find Will. In the end, it's 11 who kills the Demogorgon, seemingly sacrificing herself to save her new friends. Will's home safe, Barb's Demogorgon dinner. All is back to normal in Hawkins, except it's implied that Elle is out there somewhere in the woods eating Eggos and Will is secretly barfing up Demogorgon bits.
Lots of information. Sorry about that. We just want to get you caught up, but there's some key phrases in that video I just want to make sure you all got. So upside down and right side up. So upside down is a place you don't want to be. It's the negative, what'd she call it? What'd she say on the video?
Polaroid negative. I don't know.
Polar negative or something like that? Yeah.
Photo negative.
So it's yeah. But that's what you don't want to be. Right side up is where you do want to be. So that's going to be our do's and don'ts for today. Followed by our first point is going to be why the hell. If that doesn't get across, I'm sorry, apologize. It's why the hell. You'll get it. And lastly, we'll have our walkie tip. The geeks in Stranger Things love using their walkie-talkies. So we're going to be walking in a tip for you guys at the end on how to perform our tasks. So first we're going to have a quick group activity that you'll refer to step 1. Now just a heads up, we'll be doing an activity after each one of our recommendations. If you this first one's pretty easy. All you need to do is fill in things about your first presentation. and you'll have about 1 minute to do that. We'll be circling around the room if you have any questions. I like the recommendation.
30 seconds.
Does anybody need more time? Raise your hands. You still, okay. Give you a
Step one,
second.
right?
Yeah, step 1, almost there. This first step is the longest one. You good? Perfect. What was your name again? Melissa? What did you put for your 5 recommendations?
Explore content, understand audience and content objectives, design and delivery of content, engaging the audience, and manage unique situations.
Okay. I'm trying to remember, jog that memory of Bill's presentation. But we're going to circle back to that for some of the other stuff we'll do in our activities. But now I'm going to pass it on to Neil, who's going to be going over those cool costumes.
Alright, so for your costumes, now all of you guys must be wondering, why are we dressed up in such colorful clothes? Well, we want to follow the Stranger Things theme in the 80s. So, find the help. Now, why would you want to wear a specific costume, or what kind of attire should you wear to any kind of presentation? Now, the first thing when you walk into a presentation is you set the tone based on your appearance. Right now we're all wearing colorful clothes, you know, it's a little more fun, a little more entertaining, and if it was a serious business presentation, we would be wearing suits and attire like the previous group. Second, you always want to dress to impress. Show the best of yourself and to your peers, and also you want to stick to your theme. So for our example, we're following Stranger Things, so we are sticking to this theme. For our right side up, you always want to make sure you are always dressing for success, present your, match your group, and tend to wear neutral colors for more serious presentations. For your upside down, stay away from distracting apparel, forgetting to groom your hair, or please, 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 do not wear open-toed shoes to any kind of presentation. And here are a few tips. Always coordinate your costume with your group. You never want to tend to be the guy or girl who is not matching with your group. And always know what kind of audience you are presenting to. And at the end of the day, you always want to keep it simple and clean. Now, I would like all of you to refer to step 2 in your workbook. We will be giving you 1 minute to complete the activity.
And we'll be coming around as you're doing this activity, in case you need any help. If you do need help, ask Neil, don't ask me.
Can someone share what they've put down? Anyone?
Don't volunteer, we'll ask it.
Yeah.
I put,
Oh, what is your name?
My name's Ella.
Ella.
I put business attire and how did that apply? So that way I can be taken seriously since I have no prior reputation as an expert for this group.
Of course, thank you. Now we'll be moving on to Ronak, and he's going to be talking about how to integrate show colors.
Right, so I'm going to be talking about how to effectively incorporate color into your presentation. So color is important because it's the most immediately noticeable aspect of any presentation's overall aesthetic. A well-designed color scheme can serve to maximize the audience's attention. It can focus their attention on the substance of the presentation, whereas a poorly designed color scheme can serve as a huge distraction, take attention away from the actual message you're trying to get across. And moving on to the right side up and upside down, which is what you should or should not do when it comes to incorporating color into your presentation. So first, you want to know your audience. You want to have a good idea of their preferences and sensibilities so you can have that inform your decisions when it comes to designing your color scheme. Second, you want to include 4 different colors in your color scheme. The ideal color scheme has a background color, a text color, a title color, and a spotlight color that just add emphasis as needed. And this color scheme is considered ideal because it allows for functional use of color without becoming too overwhelming or distracting. And lastly, you want to choose compatible colors, which basically just means choosing colors that work well together. So for your upside down, what you don't want to do, you don't want to be changing up your color scheme from slide to slide. The whole point of having a color scheme is to use the same set of colors throughout your entire presentation so as to avoid distractions. Secondly, you want to avoid including multiple bold colors, by which I'm talking about neon green, hot pink, bright red, that sort of thing. Having too many of them can start to give your presentation a very childish look to it, which is rarely a good thing. And third, you want to avoid going the overly minimalist route of only having 2 colors, a background color and a text color. That can become very boring, and it's also just a missed opportunity for maximizing your presentation's visual appeal. And finally, we have a couple of concrete tips for you on how to implement this. So it's always a good idea to go for complementary colors on the standard color wheel that we all learned about in elementary school. Examples of that are a dark orange text on a navy blue background, or gold text on a dark purple background. Those sorts of colors tend to work very well together. Secondly, you want to stick to very dark or very light colors for your background. This allows for maximum contrast with the text color, which again helps us stand out and focus attention on it. And lastly, you want to stick to a white background when you're going to be handing out a printout of your presentation to your audience, and that's mainly just for the technical issues, print-related issues that come up when you try to print out solid color backgrounds. So with that, we have another group activity for you. If you could refer to step 3 on your workbook and take a minute or so to complete that.
And as always, we'll be policing to make sure you do that. That's right.
to share their answer that they put down.
So I put colors, what color should you use for recommendation two, right, let's do that. I said blue and white, or black, and how does that apply? Well, the second recommendation was green, so blue and white.
All right, thank you.
May we also have your name as well?
Alyssa.
Alyssa, thank you so much.
Okay, and now I'm going to be handing over to Aubrey to talk about typography.
Our most exciting topic of the night, font. Get ready. So, but all seriously, why the hell? Why the hell you want to care about fonts? One of them is you want to feature readable text for the audience. Those blind of bad people in the back, you got to make sure they can read it too. And what I mean by that, we have some words. They're back here. Don't be writing crazy stuff like this. Like I don't think anybody knows what that
That's
says.
font.
Font.
I can't read it from back here.
You can't read it from back here? Well, I'm glad you said that. But we can see that, right?
Yes.
For the most part. My handwriting sucks, so I apologize. Well, that's the first why the hell. Second is appeal to the eye. People tend to be more responsive and they pay attention overall when they're, seeing something that's easy to read and they can process that information. Also, just create an impression. Not only do you want to appeal to their eye, but if you can create an impression using, what would you say, like a stylish font, but not too overly aggressive like cursive, they'll remember that, we hope. So what is some right side ups? First one is choose only one or two fonts. If you use more than that, it's just going to get a little bit chaotic. People won't be able to, they'll be looking at just all the different fonts that you have instead of, what you're trying to convey, the message at least. Secondly is enlarge the size of your text. If people can't see it on the screen, you know that they're not going to be able to retain that information. And a lot of people, as we know from previous groups that have gone up here and spoken, are visual learners. They want to be able to read and see it. Most of what I'm saying right now is just going right over your heads, right? See? Joe, I can't even really pronounce his last name, Joe Makowicz published an article in Applied Research stating that when you enlarge the size of your text on PowerPoint, it's much easier for your audience to retain that information and keep it from going forward. Lastly is you want to make it pretty and in theme. It's not a hard thing to do, but just choose, we have a long list of fonts, find one that looks appealing and put it into your theme. What you don't want to do is use multiple colors. As in Roanoke, where you might want to use multiple colors as far as backgrounds, with fonts, you want to stick mainly to just one color. Otherwise, it'll get a little bit too distracting. Secondly is capitalize all the letters. Definitely want to keep just lowercase, capitalize that first in the dot. Works perfectly. Smooth. Capitalize, bolding, just throws it in their faces. It's a little bit too much. Secondly is selecting unique bullet points. I know those bullet points look fancy. You might want to use them. Don't stick to simple bullet points. So a few walkie tips is review your font choices. That's one of the easiest things you do. Google Drive and Word have a nice big drop-down menu. I know sometimes it's a little bit, tedious, but you can just go through that menu drop and find a font that works out for you. Secondly is project beforehand for visibility. We'll always want to put it up on the screen, test it out. Just yesterday was it yesterday, guys? It was Monday? The days are running together right now. But Monday we showed up here, JSON, and put it on the screen just to make sure that it looked good and it was going to be appealing for you guys, so you should be thanking us. And then make it fun. Typography, not the most exciting thing in the world, but if you can find a way to make it fun for you, it'll be a fun presentation to give. So group activity, if you'll refer to your step 4, we'll give you about a minute to complete that, and then we'll call on a lucky soul. All right. So you in the back right there. What's your name?
And
Anne. This is Anne. So what did you put down?
so I put out the readable font or appeal to your audience eyes.
Yeah. So define your font. Do you feel like that you used a good font for your presentation and your theme? That's good. That's good. Keep doing it for the next presentation. Now I'm going to pass it on to Laura, who's going to go over the effects.
Thank you, Aubrey. So why should we focus on effects? Effects are a great way to engage with their audience and create an immersive experience with them. In Stranger Things, they do have the creation of the underworld and of Demogorgons, which of course is fictional, but because they do such a great way of showing that visually and having those special effects, it definitely does create a loyal fan base and it makes them wanting more. What I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about how we can do that same thing on a much smaller scale, such as a presentation. So why the hell? Why the hell do we include these effects? It can help redirect the focus on important topics, and it can also give us a visual clue on when to focus on important topics. By having a visual clue, we're able to see where specifically we're supposed to focus on that message. Whenever I'm in the audience and I see maybe a text that is being shown to me in a different way, maybe the text or the font is shaking on the screen, maybe there is a sound effect, maybe it's highlighted, I know that it's really important and that I should pay a little closer attention to that font. Now I'm going to give an example of a commercial that does a really good job on combining visual effects and sound effects. Has anyone ever been to the Cinemark Theater?
Yes.
Okay, so maybe you know which commercial I'm about to refer to. They play it right before the movie starts, and it deals with food. So what you see is popcorn being popped on the screen, and it goes from the bottom all the way to the top as it's popping. And then we see an ice cold glass. And inside that glass, they're pouring some ice cubes. And you can see it sweating, and you can hear it. And then you hear the Coke being poured into the glass, and it's fizzing up. That to me is already catching my attention. What do you think is the purpose of that commercial?
Sell more concessions.
Yes, which what it does, it promotes participation. They want you to get up out of your seat and go buy popcorn and Coke. And I think that's a great way of how they do that. So how do we stay in the right side up? Be sure to be time sensitive with your information, so you want to pace it with your bullets. You can do this by showing it one at a time. And with your bullets, you also want to have action words to kind of create a sense of purpose on what to do. By doing those things, you're able to reinforce the key concepts, and that way your viewer or your audience member can know what to do once the presentation has concluded. So how do we avoid being in the upside down? Well, first of all, we're going to want to avoid using word vomit, which is where you spill your whole script on your slide. You don't really want to be reading from the slide. You kind of want to have bullet points and short words that can summarize that for you. And next, restrict the use of multiple transitions. So they can be a great way to kind of show the conclusion of the next step, but having too many transitions can get a little difficult for your reader, and it can distract them. So if you aren't sure what the audience's needs are, I would suggest maybe staying subtle and just having one consistent transition for every slide. And lastly, refrain from low quality visuals. Raise your hand if you've ever experienced a really bad video or maybe a grainy sound and your eyes or your ears hurt. A lot of us, and it is really frustrating. If I can't see what I'm trying to see, that definitely hinders my educational experience. So you definitely want to prepare beforehand by using high quality visuals or videos, so that way the audience member doesn't get distracted from the true message. Now for my walkie tips. Every audience member does have different needs, So it is important to decide the intensity of the effects. If you're working with school children, you might want to have brighter colors, you might want to have sound effects, maybe a light bulb blinking on the screen whenever it's a really important topic. But if you're presenting to a professional crowd such as tonight, I'm probably not going to have those same visuals or those same sound effects or an applause on command button. But in case you do need them, I do recommend that you use action buttons to do that. So if you have a video, don't post a link, maybe post a shape. So whenever you can click on it, it can take you directly to that video. Also, triple check that your effects work. Technology can be really difficult and it can hinder your message. So always check as many times as possible, whether that be beforehand, the day of, maybe right before you go up, because you don't want to spend a lot of time on that, and that will also distract from your message. And lastly, if you are using videos such as from YouTube, you might want to download them ahead of time. That way you don't have to wait for it to buffer or load. That way you can avoid commercials, which again also distracts from the message. Now we're going to go on to our group activity book, and if you can please work on step 5. We'll give you about a minute, and we'll also walk around and see if you have any other questions. About a minute has already passed. Would anyone like to share how we can use effects in your future presentation?
That hasn't spoken.
That hasn't spoken.
Okay.
Your name, please?
Alexa. So one of the effects that we used was actually our homemade video. We thought that would apply because it was school related and we could relate to the audience because we were at UTD and it added kind of like a personal flair.
Yeah, thank you. I definitely agree on that. I think that because you added that personal touch, it showed me that you really cared about your presentation and that you were really just wanting to help us understand that message. Can anyone also give me another example of a visual aid where we had a bunch of different sound effects in this presentation that we already showed? There was a 2-minute video, and there was one lady talking really fast.
It's that one, right?
It was that one, yeah. So in that video, they have pop-outs of the characters, and if you notice, they also have the pop-outs with a sound effect, and it was pop, pop, pop with every single picture that they had, and that's a great way to grab your audience's attention, and by having that visual effect, that sound effect, and by being able to really grasp the attention. Okay, so that concludes the activity. I will now pass it on to Stephanie.
Thank you, Laura. Now we're going to talk about how we can use cool graphics for our presentation. So why the hell do we want to use cool graphics? So first, because we want our graphics to clarify our message. If we're looking at the screen and we don't know why a visual is on the screen, it's probably because you're using the wrong graphic. So for instance, our theme is Stranger Things. So in this image, you see Dustin and Will and the other guys, and they look interested and perplexed, which is why we paired it with our why the hell slide. Secondly, you want to identify correlation. So graphics are open to videos, pictures, clip art, and as you saw in your workbook, it's also charts and diagrams. So if you're comparing numbers, you might want to use a bar chart to really prove your numbers and identify correlation that way. Thirdly, you want to stimulate recall with your graphics. So according to Rasmussen College, educator William Haynes says that engaging more senses and even mere repetition makes a difference in recall. So as you've seen in this presentation, we've used photographs, we've used videos, and we've also used an activity, and hopefully those have helped to increase recall so that when you leave, you'll take something away from our presentation. So let's talk a little bit about our right side ups and our upside downs. So first, we want to make sure that our graphics stimulate interest and excitement. So as you see on our upside down slide, we used a picture from the Netflix show Stranger Things of upside down, and it looks a little bit creepy, a little bit scary, and hopefully it interests you because it kind of interests me, and hopefully it helps connect some of our points. Secondly, you want to connect abstract concepts to life. So what does this mean? Okay, so I'm going to do a little activity. So I want everybody to raise your hand when you remember the first time you ever took a vocabulary quiz. You're gonna raise your hand when the first time you ever did a spelling test or vocab. Okay, all right, now we remember. Okay, everyone can put your hands down. Now I want you to raise your hand when you remember your first kiss or your first date. So do you guys notice how you raised your hands a lot quicker when we mentioned your first date or first kiss compared to your vocabulary test? It's because sometimes when we look on words on a page, it's just abstract. But when we connect the visuals to those words, it really helps our recall. Our third right side up is to position photos carefully. So whether you're using a big image on a page, that can be really impactful, or if you're using a lot of images, you want to make sure that the images are correlating to a common theme. So I'm going to show you guys a video from Stranger Things, and I think it's a great example of how our images should come together and tie together to a common theme. So let's check out this video.
It's more of the same.
It's nothing, it's just scribbles.
Wait.
What?
Please. Please. These black lines, see?
What?
They connect. They connect.